Alright everyone, welcome back. We're going to pick up where we left off and we're going to get this Spartan into Unity and ready to go into the game. But first things first, I made a mistake in the last video and I forgot to go over one last thing we need to fix up on this before we can move it on to Unity. And that is, when we look at this from the front orthographic view, we notice that its feet are a little bit on the floor, and that's not good. No one's really going to notice it, but it's a problem to me, so we're going to go ahead and fix it. And if you have problems with it in the future, this is how you're going to be able to fix it. So we're going to go to pose mode, Control Tab. We're going to select everything, and we're going to open the end menu on the side here. And we're going to turn off Auto IK. What we're just going to do is we're going to raise this entire model up and line its feet up with the green line, which is the floor of this scene. And we're just going to bring it up as best we can. And these feet appear to be a little tilted forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these, and we're just going to rotate them down, line them up as best we can. That's good. We're going to exit pose mode, click on the mesh, apply this armature modifier just like we did on the original resting pose for this. Come back to T-pose, or come back to the armature, pose mode, Control A, and apply. Once that's done, don't forget to re-add our armature modifier, specify the rig. Now everything is good to go. What we're going to do next is we're going to take this, export in FBX. And this is Unity's native format that we're going to be working with for our models. So we're exporting FBX. Now there's a few things that we do need to address before we do actually do this export. I'm paranoid and it's been inconsistent for me. So what I usually do is I'll come in and I'll click on the armature and then press A. This way everything is selected, and I'll limit to selected objects. The next thing, one of the most important things being that we need to address fixing one thing in geometry and one thing in armature. And we want to make sure that this tangent space checkmark is clicked. We also want to make sure that this add leaf bones box is unchecked. Tangent space being the most important. It helps a lot with your edge sharpness, makes things look a bit better, and it helps out a lot. So next, we're going to hit Export FBX. I'm going to override the one I already had here because I exported a bad one on accident and I had to start over. So I'll make this 2. With that done, we can head right on over to Unity and fixing some texture issues we've got to work out. So first things first, we're going to come over to Unity Hub, or if you're using this specific version just for VR chat, we're going to be using version 2018.4.20 F1. I'm going to make a new project and just name it something you'll know. I'm going to name this Void Dancer Tester, or Void Teaching. And it's a 3D project. Any avatar you work on is going to be a 3D project, and we're just going to hit Create. Alright, so when your Unity opens, it's going to look like this. You're going to have a default scene. Your hierarchy should be over here, your inspector, and then your file browsing down here at the bottom. My personal preference, I usually take the hierarchy and I'll bring it over here because I like having my hierarchy for any bones and hierarchy adjustments I need to make right next to the inspector. They're really close together instead of having to take things and go across the screen back and forth. It's just a bit faster for me. So first things first is I'll usually make a folder for all my projects. That way I can separate it out from any prefabs and other pre-made folders that those things that you might import will bring in. So I'll make one called Spartans. And then each Spartan will usually have its own folder. That way I can keep them organized amongst many Spartans being in one project. So I'll make this one Void Dancer. Next, I'll make 2 more folders. That way I can organize their materials and their textures. Realistically, you don't have to do any of this, but for the sake of organization, I like to keep things clean, so I will usually end up doing it. Next, we're going to take that FBX we exported from Blender, and we're going to bring it into the scene, or into the project. So we'll take it, we'll just drag and drop that FBX file, and we're going to drop it right here. Now I've got our model, and we can see everything in it. Its armature, the skin mesh, and its 3 materials for the body armor, the tech suit, and the helmet. Main thing I like to do is I'll take these materials, I'll select all 3, and then I'll extract them from the prefab and put them in the materials folder. So now we have our model and we have our materials. Next thing we need to address is there's something that we need to discuss with the textures, and that is that Halo 5's workflow was done in DirectX. It's how most Microsoft and other titles are done, for the Xbox mainly. DirectX and OpenGL are the 2 main formats that we're going to be looking at and talking about whenever we do texture work for VR chat and Unity, is that assets can be taken from DirectX and converted to show up properly in OpenGL. Well, you can say that this armor shows up normally, but the main thing we're looking at here is a thing called a normal map. And this normal map is what's going to create a lot of that edge sharpness and a lot of line detail for geometry, just to clean it up and make it look good. So the main thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take these normals and we're going to have to fix them, and we're going to have to use an image editor to do it. I'm going to be showing how to do this with GIMP and Photoshop for those who have and do not have it. So we'll start with GIMP. And we're going to come over to the textures folder for the armor, and we're going to grab the normal map. I'm going to bring in the original normal maps, that way we can show this process. And this is the original normal map. And if you know what armors you're working on and you've seen them detailed and you know what they should look like, and then you come and look at this normal map, you might notice something. I noticed this in particular for this suit, is that this piece here is part of the backplate. And this little piece here is, it looks like it's pushed out when it shouldn't be. So the main thing we want to do is we want to fix this, because these normal maps that create edge detail will change how the model appears. It'll change that these faces appear to be pushed out when they should be pushed in, and it'll create some really weird effects that we don't want to look at. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up to colors, we're going to go to components, and we're going to decompose. This is going to split off another image and make it show us each channel here alone. What we want to do is we want to take the green channel in particular, we're going to come to colors, and we're going to invert it. After that, we're going to go back into color, component, and we're going to recompose it because we want to put this image back together. And if you'll note, then the preview up here will change a little bit. So now when we look at this normal map, this green channel has changed, it's been altered, and the entire normal map will now function properly within Unity. And then what you'll do from here is you'll hit Control-Shift-S, or you can come up here and hit File and then Save As. And put OpenGL on the end of the file name, that way you know which one is fixed for future projects. So I'm not going to be using GIMP for this. I've already saved mine, so I'm just going to move on to the Photoshop explanation now. And I'm going to use the same thing. I'm going to open that same original normal. And we're going to do this in Photoshop, which I find Photoshop to be much easier, but not everyone has it. So when you open it up, it's going to look like this. And same thing, we see that this face is pushed out when it should be indented. So we'll come over here to channels, and we're going to do the same thing except a little easier. We're only going to select the green channel, and we're going to hit Control-I to invert. The entire image will change, and we'll click back on RGB, and we'll see now that we have the same effect that we created in GIMP, just the same, that this piece now looks pushed in. And we're going to hit Control-Shift-S or File, Save As, and do the same thing, save and rename. That way you have it for other projects, and you don't have to worry about doing it again. With that done, we're done with the photo editing, and we can move on. Now we can come back in here, and we can take these armor pieces, and we can drop their textures in. And with these, each armor has, it'll have a folder inside of itself for any armor color variants that it might have, or alternate skins. For this one, I'm just going to be using the normal version. So we're going to grab the armor color, control, and OpenGL normal for both the body armor and the helmet of whatever it is you're working on. So I'll grab the color, control, and normal, and OpenGL format, and we're going to drag these into the textures. So with that done, once these load in, we can close this folder. We're done with that. And I'm also going to grab the ones for the tech suit. Take these through here, color, control, and normal, OpenGL, and just drag and drop them into your textures. This way, it creates a little pack in Unity that we can find all of our textures, and we can just go. Next things next, we're going to bring in the shader. And just like with everything else, it's in that assets channel, and you can find it, download it, and we're going to be using the latest version of the shader at this time, which is the Open Halo 5 Spartan shader version 1.5. And we're just going to take this file, and I'm just going to drag it into assets. It doesn't need to go anywhere special, so we can just put it right there. Once that's done, we can go into the materials, and we can get to work. What I normally do is I'll take all three materials that are going to be using the same shader here, and I'll change them all at the same time. So I'll select all three, we'll come to the shader here, and we'll change them. Now everyone say hello to the infamous golden Spartan every time you make one of these. And now promptly get ready to say goodbye. First things first, I usually like to add the diffuse. So we're going to come down here, and we're going to add the helmet diffuse. And this diffuse here, or specular, or whatever you'd like to call it, This is going to be our main detail. So this is going to show all of like the dirt buildup and some black and white for our contrast when we add the colors later. Next thing, I usually just add the normal map. So we'll come in here and add our normal, and we'll fix it. So now we can see all these edges appear properly, pieces are pushed out when they should be, things that look indented are indented, and everything looks the right way. So now we're going to add our control texture. And these are really cool textures. Controls are used in a lot of games now for optimization, and what they do is they're a basic image that is red, green, and blue. And what this allows us to do is use shaders that allow us to edit those channels independently and max them out on their own. And this can be expanded into RGB and CMYK. We don't see that in Halo except for visors, which are using a yellow color, which use a yellow channel. And with this, anything that's red on this texture is going to get masked over the base. Anything green, same thing. And we can edit these masks independently to change colors. For instance, we can do this. So anything on the red channel will be altered on its own to be a different color. For the sake of everything, we're going to do this all at once. So we're going to come over to the body armor and we're going to do the same thing. So we'll put the normal on it. We'll hit fix. Control map. Put that on. And then the diffuse, which is our main source of detail. Alright, next, we're going to grab our tech suit. Same thing. Diffuse. Color control. And normal. We'll fix. Alright, that done. We're going to come over, and I usually edit the armors at the same time. But first things first, we're going to come to the body armor material, and we're going to turn off the helmet set. Because we're not using this as a helmet, it's a body. We'll leave it checked on this one, because that way when we select both, when we edit both, it's only editing the one, because one of them is checked and the other is not, which is this little minus sign here. From here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up our colors. So we're going to just define some zones, and we're going to go from there. So let's say I want this armor. We're going to make this blue. Make this a bit of a lighter blue. Yeah, that's okay. And then we're going to set this to be, you know what, let's make it black. Why not? Sure. And then I usually turn on this third channel. It basically inverts a few channels and does other few things that I'm not quite aware of, I think. But basically, it allows us a little bit of extra leeway to play with some stuff. So it allows us to change these bits here. And I think I'm also going to make these black. I think they look better in black. Yeah, let's do that. That's okay. Maybe a lighter gray. Something a bit just darker, but still a little different. Yeah, that's okay. Let's go with that. And then we're going to come over here to our visor, and we're going to change this as well. And we'll just pick a color that we like. So I'm going to go with purple. Purple's my favorite color. And then I'm going to edit the text suit independently because I don't want it to follow the same masking zones and everything else. So I'm going to turn off visor because it's not a helmet. I'm going to turn on the fake channel. And then I'm just going to set some colors I think look good. So let's do black. Let's get purple. And maybe a really, really light gray just to create some difference. Actually, we'll set it to white. Just leave it alone. It'll be okay. So there we go. Now we have a fully textured Untitled Spartan. I'm not going to mess with the metallics too much, but basically just play with sliders to your liking and however you would like to make it. So I'm going to set this here, and for instance, however shiny or matted you want it to be. I'm going to leave this, naturally up to you guys. Whatever you decide looks best, run with it. I'm going to go with something probably a little on the lower end. So I'm going to set this up here. Yeah, that should be good. Just something basic. Make it how you like it. From here, we got to set up another few things. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on our model here, and this is going to open up this in the inspector. It'll show us our preview of the model. It'll also show us information about the rig and information about the mesh. Animation and materials as well, but we don't need to deal with that right now. So we're going to go to the model tab first, and I really enjoy watching this, so I'll come to a really high detail point that normal maps flesh out a lot. So in this case, I think I'm going to look at the helmet. We're going to come over here and turn on Legacy Blend Shape Normals. This is just a setting we're going to have to fix because VRChat has a problem where if you don't use this and you talk, your normal intensity changes and it looks really strange. So now we're going to go to this normals thing right below where it says import. We're going to change this to calculate. And we hit apply. And you're going to watch a lot of this edge detail here. It's going to become a lot sharper and it's going to change a little bit. All of this looks just a little bit better now. It looks a lot sharper. These edges in particular are a lot sharper. From here we're going to go to rig. We're going to set it to humanoid. And we're going to hit apply. These ones, unless you're doing any specific rig adjustments outside of what we've gone over, you won't really have to configure it. It's all going to just, it'll all assign itself properly, so we're not going to worry too hard. Alright. From here, we're going to go ahead and set up the constraints so that these knee plates move the way they were intended. So we're going to open up the hierarchy here, and we're going to open up this model's hierarchy. So we're going to go from here into the armature, to hips, and we're going to go down the legs, and we're going to hit knee left and knee right. So we're going to grab here and here for both of them. We're going to add a rotation constraint here. So you just have an ROT, rotation constraint will be the only one. Now we'll have to go add a source for each of them. So each of them will have one source because we want them to only look at one bone. We'll come up to knee left and assign its lower leg, knee right, lower leg right, and then we can go back to working on both. With both sources set up, we can come down here and hit is active and then lock. Now after this, I'll usually enter testing, so I will hit the play button, switch to this, and when I move this, we're going to use left as the example. When I move this, it's going to look like the knee is only following this left thing. It's only moving with this. Well, that's not quite right either, so what we're going to do is exit play mode. We're going to come over here to each knee, and we're going to set this value, I set it at 0.6. Actually, in this case, it'll be 0.4. Or set it to 5 if you want to have it follow halfway, but I will use 0.4 for mine. And then we're going to do this. We're going to enter testing, come back to scene, and move the lower leg left again. We're just going to bend it back. And now you'll notice that it's doing that same result we wanted in Blender. It's following about halfway between. And this is how we want it to be when we have it in game. So when we bend our knee, this knee plate actually is going to protect our knee. With that done, we can exit testing. Play mode will reset everything for us. We can come back. This model is just about ready to enter VRChat. So now we're going to go and import our SDK because we want to have this set up and we want to get everything formatted right for the game. So you'll go and download your latest SDK. I'm using the VRChat Avatars 3.0 SDK. It doesn't really matter if you use the 2.0 one; those still work. I'm using 3.0 because it has a few other functions, and it's the only one I have installed right now. So we're going to come over here to Assets, Import Package, move this over here, navigate to your SDK, and we're going to bring in this 3.0 SDK. We're going to hit Import. Alright. Now with our SDK imported, you'll have your little bar up here in the top, and this will allow us to access the SDK, open up our information, and it'll pop up a window for us here. So I'm going to throw this over here. I usually put mine in the inspector. That way I never have to click over there and open the tab again. But for the moment now, what we're going to be doing is setting up an avatar descriptor. And this is basically how Unity tells VRChat when we upload this package, this is the model. So what we're going to do is I'm actually just going to delete this camera. We don't need it here. It's in the way. It's in my way. There we go. Get rid of that. Goodbye, camera. We're going to click over here on the main root of the model, which is going to be this prefab box here. So we're going to work on this one alone in particular. And we're going to add another component. This is going to be a VRChat avatar component. I'll just type in avatar. There we go. Avatar descriptor. Alright. So from here, this is basically linked to this model saying, you know, this is a model, look at this, when we go to change into it and we do all of our stuff for it. So first things first, we're going to edit our view position because we need to be able to see out of it. And right now, the view ball is set right here inside the chest, and we don't want that. We want it up in the visor where it should be, where our eyes are. So this is another thing I like about 3.0, is instead of just moving it by integer values and shenanigan with it, you can press edit. And you can just take this view ball, drag it right on up. I usually set them just a touch higher. And we can come to the side, and we're going to push this into the visor. I usually set mine right about here. That way when I put my hand up to my face, my hand isn't stopping like a foot away from my head. It's actually going to come up and hit my face, and hit my visor. Right back. I'll raise this up actually just a touch. Right about, yeah, we'll line it up with that. That's fine. So that's good. And we can hit return. Now that we've set our value, our view ball is in place. So this means whenever we load into this model, we'll be able to see out of it properly. With that done, I'm going to have to sign in real quick, so one moment. Alright, now, once you've signed into your VRChat account, in authentication, you'll be able to come over here to the Builder tab. In this Builder tab, it's going to show us a lot of things that are wrong because it has to format a specific way for VRChat to work. Or for this asset to work with VRChat, rather. So first things we're going to fix is we're going to come over here and we're going to auto fix the generated light maps. And all you do is hit the button, it'll open this little box, and it'll take care of itself. So now that's done, we can go ahead and close that. Next things next, we're going to have to fix the mipmap texture streaming, which just another one of these auto fix. And this was what's going to unblock the build and publish button for us, so we can actually work on this. There we go. So that's all good and done. Nothing's changed. Everything is still pretty good. All fine and dandy. So let's see. This is a consistent problem with the tech suits that we have right now. It's a parenting issue, but it can be ignored. Material keywords can also be ignored. There's a really technical aspect to it that I personally am not going to get into. It's a bit of work, and I don't quite know enough to go into it. And the angle between pelvis and thigh bones should be close to 180. This one is 3.9. I personally have never messed with this. It's never become a problem. So why fix it? Plus, we'd have to go back into Blender to fix it, and there's no point to. It's not going to affect anything. Even if you're in full body, it's such a minor rotation that, you know, it is what it is. But we're good rating. We're below the poly count. We're optimized. Everything is good to go. From here, I usually go to settings, and I will turn off a thing called future-proof publishing. We do not want this. Future-proof publishing uploads a copy of your model to VRChat servers, and every time the game updates, it re-uploads your model for you, so you don't have to. With this, I personally don't like them having a copy of my models, so I never use it, and it's also the main reason when you're uploading a model that it crashes. So I will uncheck this every time. We can come back to the builder and we can hit publish. I'm not going to publish because I don't plan on uploading this, but from here, offline testing is broken. I would not recommend using it. It's not great, and if you even use one and then try and load into that model, you're going to have to restart your entire game. So I just recommend not using the offline testing mode. So what it's going to do now is it's going to compile all these assets, and it's going to set everything up so that when you log into your account and you go to your avatars, you have your own creations now. You have your own Spartan. Alright. Once everything is done compiling, it'll take you to a screen in the Game tab here to basically create the information for your model. And what we're going to do is, this picture looks a little dark, and for the sake of demonstration, we're going to take this light here, and we're going to move it. We're going to set this to global. There we go. We're going to move this in front. Let's see if we can't get this model looking a little better. Put that right about there. There we go. That's looking better. Bring this down again. See if I can't get this light looking nice real quick. And we're going to move this camera as well. We're going to bring this up because we only want to see the head. We want to look at this. We want to look at this pretty helmet we did. That's okay. I'm going to bring this off to the side actually and set this, rotate it. Perfect. So now this is going to be the picture we see for the model preview before we load into it when we go to select it in game. And we're going to name this Void Dancer, or whatever this armor is that you want to name it, however you want to call it, up to you. In here you can set tags, you can give it a description, so when people go to check your avatar information, they can see a description along with the name. You can choose to set it as private or public, and any tags here. Once you've got everything else set up nice to your liking, we can go ahead and hit this check mark, and this will allow us to finish the upload. Once this is done, it's going to take its time, it's going to pack everything up, it's going to bring it over to the server and add it to your account. So next time you log in, you'll be able to put this on and go have fun. And that about covers everything. From the last video to this one, everything from start to finish, how to make your own basic Spartans. From here, there's going to be another set of videos that'll go into kit bashing, which is basically taking a bunch of armors, taking certain parts and putting them together, and making something really unique. But for now, that's all.